Hey guys, alright, so this video is going to be very different from my usual exercise tutorials. What I'm going to be doing is actually documenting my personal experience with going off of hormonal birth control. I would be remiss if I didn't preface this by saying that I am by no means an expert or professional in any of this field. Any of the information that I am giving to you is solely based on my personal experiences, as well as some very informal research that I've done on my own and some experiences of women that I have talked to doing this research. I'm also very aware that the experiences that women go through when going off of hormonal birth control can be very, very different based on their own genetics, as well as the type and dose of contraceptive that they were taking. What originally intrigued me about looking more into birth control was when I found out that it can potentially inhibit testosterone production, which as a competitive bodybuilder is something I'm very concerned about because low testosterone can affect your muscle growth as well as making it harder to lose weight. It was last off season that I felt like I was just doing everything right. You know, I was tracking all my food, I was getting sufficient protein, I was killing my workouts, and I really felt like I should have built more muscle than I did. And that following competition season, it was hard for me to get stage lean. I mean, my calories had to drop really, really low. So this is when I started to dive a lot deeper into it, and I realized that when it comes to things like muscle growth and weight loss in regards to birth control, there's not a lot of information out there, and the information that is out there is honestly pretty vague. What blew my mind the most though was when I went to my OBGYN for my annual exam and I asked her about this and I said, you know, could my birth control be making it harder for me to gain muscle and lose weight? And she literally said to me, oh, I don't really know anything about that. It sounds like you've done more research on that than me. What? It just blows me away that the medical and pharmaceutical industries are pushing oral contraceptives and yet they can't answer a question like that. So this is why I am documenting my experience, because I'm really hoping that it will be informative, or if nothing else, it'll at least be kind of interesting. To give a little backstory, I originally started taking birth control when I was 17 years old, and I'm going to be 33 next month. So this is going on 16 years that I have been taking hormonal birth control. I've always said that I've battled off and on with depression my entire life, but now that I've really just been digging deeper and looking more into everything, I realized that my depression really started around 17 when I got on birth control. I also realized that my deepest, darkest phase of the depression that I've dealt with was when I was 17 years old, and it was about 2 to 6 months after I had initially started birth control. So this past year, I started really tracking my cycle a lot more. I mean, I made like a whole spreadsheet where I had columns where I would track like my mood, my energy, my digestion, every single thing, and I started noticing how cyclical it was. The couple of days immediately after my period, I would always be like on top of the world and in such a good mood and great energy, and that was also the time, if I was dieting, that my weight would just drop and I would lose like 2 or 3 pounds all at once. But then 2 weeks later, when I would maybe normally be ovulating, I would feel super depressed. I would feel down, low energy, my digestion was slower, and if I was trying to lose weight, that was the week where like everything just stuck and nothing would drop. And I was noticing these patterns, and although the predictability was really nice, you know, if I was feeling super down, I would know like, okay, this is only gonna last a couple days, I'm gonna get past this. And it was obviously great always knowing like a 12-hour window of exactly when I'm gonna get my period. But I was just noticing that they were just getting more and more extreme, like the highs were getting higher and the lows were getting lower. Literally everybody that I've talked to has said they are so glad that they went off birth control. Some women have told me that they had some initial side effects, like some women would initially gain weight, some lost weight, some said that their emotions were more extreme, but most women said that between anywhere from 2 to 6 months afterwards, it kind of leveled out, and they have all said that afterwards they just feel so much better physically and emotionally. Women have told me that they're just downright happier. I was actually really hoping to take a hormone test to see where my estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and many other things were at. But once I was actually like all set to take a hormone test, and then I found out apparently hormonal birth control can affect these results and cause inaccurate readings because the birth control is actually giving you synthetic hormones, and these aren't going to give a clear reading of your true hormones. So I was kind of bummed about that because I really wanted to see where my like base level was at of my hormones, but I decided not to spend the money on it if it's going to give me an inaccurate reading anyways. Maybe in the future, once I've gone through this process, maybe we'll test my hormones and see where they're at then. But I mean, whatever happens, I'm excited to take you guys on this journey with me. I'm hoping it's going to be informative. I am aware that these first few months can apparently be a pretty rough transition, and I have already apologized to Matt in advance for any of my potential craziness since I don't know what's going to happen. The reason I'm going off birth control right now is that my husband and I have both never wanted kids, something that we've agreed on. We've just both never wanted them our entire life. So he recently got a vasectomy, and his follow-up appointment is next week. So if all goes well with his follow-up appointment and he's definitely shooting blanks, I will be going off the pill after this next cycle.
I don't fuck with you. You little stupid ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you.
All right, it has been 10 days since I went off the pill. Not really long enough to notice any like for sure physical changes, but I've been journaling every day, just kind of like recording how I'm feeling and what's been going on. Overall, I've been feeling pretty good. I've been sleeping pretty well. A few restless nights here and there, but that's not abnormal for me. I have had my first hormonal meltdown, which unfortunately landed on Christmas Day, which is also my husband's birthday. So timing-wise, not the best. And I know this was hormone related because for one, I'm not like a super emotional person. I honestly don't cry very much. And this one was triggered by seemingly by nothing at all. I just started crying, and then I like knew as it was happening that it was my hormones making me cry. And so I thought it was like kind of funny actually, because I was like, this is it. Like, this is the start of this roller coaster that I'm going on. I'm just gonna cry from time to time, and it is what it is. And I thought it was like kind of funny, but then it wasn't funny because I couldn't stop crying. And like I would finally like regain my composure, and then I would just start crying again, and I'd regain my composure, and I'd start crying again. And so funny, but not funny. And it was not my favorite Christmas of all time. But since then, I haven't had that happen again. I'm kind of assuming it maybe will happen, but otherwise, feeling pretty good. And aside from that, I feel like I've been exceptionally like clear-minded. I don't know if that's just a weird like coincidence or what, but I feel like I've been thinking really clearly lately. So I've been using this time to do some like further research, you know, my very just unscientific, unofficial research. But I've found that a lot of the claims that they're making that birth control prevents cancer, there's really not a lot of evidence to back that. And they can actually cause a lot more other complications like blood clotting and some other things. I think I read somewhere that there's like a chance, they don't know for sure, but there's a chance that can actually increase the risk of breast cancer, which like, fuck that, no thanks. I am lucky in that I have been taking a pretty low dose hormonal birth control. It was called a Trilosprintec, and it was estradiol, and then I don't remember, it was just an estrogen and a progesterone synthetic hormone, and they were lower doses. So luckily, you know, the lower dose of synthetic hormones, it's not going to suppress your natural hormones quite as much. So I'm hoping that that plays to my advantage in this. After looking into a lot of the effects on weight, the women who gain weight initially going off birth control, typically, not always, but typically the initial weight gain is more just because of your hormones kind of balancing out, and so there's more fluid retention. So a lot of that weight gain is actually just water, fluid retention, stuff like that, and it generally kind of levels out after a few months. But that's not to say that some women don't actually gain weight and gain body fat. But here's what I'm kind of wondering is, because it's fucking with your hormones, it could be fucking with your hunger hormones, your leptin and ghrelin, which are your hunger and satiety hormones. So if these hormones are off, maybe it's causing women to feel more hungry or less hungry, and they're overeating or undereating, which could cause a gain or loss in weight and body fat. So I'm going to be very curious for me, because I am somebody who tracks my macros, so I know my exact intake every day. So I'll be curious if I maintain this intake, if I gain weight or lose weight. I did read one study that talked about how it can, in fact, change your body composition, and they actually did do a study on it. They took 2 different groups of women, one on hormonal birth control and one not on any sort of hormonal birth control, and they put them through a resistance training program with the same diet and everything. And the group that was not on hormonal birth control gained 40% more lean mass than the group that was on hormonal birth control. So between this and then also synthetic hormones and increased estrogen and stuff can cause your body to carry fat in different areas. There actually is evidence of birth control changing your body composition. So I do find that very interesting. I've been really open about this whole experience on my social media, which has been awesome with how many freaking women have come to me to share their stories with their experiences. And it's been very, very interesting, because I've heard all different ends of the spectrum of women that have gone through different things going on and off of birth control. And a lot of them have recommended to me like some of these articles, some of these podcasts, and then a lot of them are letting me know about certain supplements that they took that really helped them out. So I've been looking into some of those supplements. One of the most popular ones that was recommended to me is something called DIM, which after further researching it, it's a compound that is created when you eat cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. And this is a compound that can, I guess, help regulate estrogen. But if you've been following me for any time, you know that I'm a big advocate on keeping supplements supplemental. So unless I start to really have any issues, I am going to just try to keep my diet as nutrient dense as possible. You know, I already eat broccoli, I already eat Brussels sprouts, so I'm hoping that I don't need to go down that route, but that is one of the biggest supplements that has been suggested to me. All right, totally vulnerable, open, honest, transparent post right here, because I look like crap, haven't been awake that long, and just had a fucking hot flash. Face, neck turned, well, no, actually it started out, heart rate was elevated. I thought I was having anxiety. I tried to take some deep breaths and everything. Heart rate kind of lowered down a little bit, but then face got super hot and itchy, and then it went to my neck. Got a little red, not too bad, but first hot flash. So it's been about 6 or 7 weeks since I went off the pill. I still feel really good mentality-wise. I feel awesome. Like I said, a lot more clear-minded. I have had a couple of emotional meltdowns, but they honestly haven't been that bad. And when they have happened, I've been very aware that it's my hormones. So I kind of am able to calm myself down through it all. Physically, I have had some spotting the last few days, but I still have not had a normal menstrual cycle yet. So I will be very curious when that happens and then what it's gonna be like. But otherwise, like, no like cramping. As far as like weight fluctuations, it's really hard to tell because I am eating in a surplus since I'm in my off season, and I've also started taking creatine, so I know that that can make me hold water too. So as far as any like water retention or weight gain, I don't really know. I have had a little bit of acne, so it's not bad, but like you can see right here, I don't get like a ton of acne, and when I do, it's not even like horribly noticeable. But what's happening is I'll get like one at a time, and they're those ones that are like way deep under the skin and they hurt. So, I mean, I guess I'd kind of rather that than have like pimples all over my face. But I did find out that I guess vitamin A can help with hormonal acne. So I've been eating a lot more like carrots, butternut squash, stuff like that. But otherwise, yeah, we're at about a month and a half. Still no regular periods, some spotting, a little bit of acne, couple of emotional meltdowns, but overall, energy is great, strength is great, and my mindset, I feel really like level-headed, and just the best way to put it is like more rational. And it's weird because I wouldn't say that I was like crazy irrational before, but I just feel like more clear-minded. Well, I just got my fucking period. Like literally, it was this morning that I did that video about how I haven't gotten my period yet, and like 3 or 4 hours later I get it, and I was pretty excited at first. I was like, oh, wow, cool, here we go. Like this isn't too bad, but now my stomach fucking hurts so fucking bad, and all I want to eat is chocolate. So I'll keep you posted on how this goes. Right now, I don't like it. I'm just a girl. It's been a few days since I got my period. It's only lasted like 3 days. It's pretty much over, I guess. So that first day was like, it was crazy. Okay, so I like had some spotting at first, right? And then all of a sudden it was just like, bam. I was out shopping, and I noticed I was starting to get some cramps, and then as I was driving home, the cramps got so painful, I got nauseous, and I like broke out in a sweat. So I literally just came home and like popped some ibuprofen, plopped on the couch with a bag of chocolates, and I just like laid there until I started to feel better, which luckily I started to feel better pretty quickly. So that was good. It really didn't last too long. And honestly, it probably could have been a lot worse. And then the next like 2 or 3 days, I don't really know how long it's been, but the next couple days, like no cramps, no nausea, no headaches, nothing, just some spotting and pretty light otherwise. So we'll see. I don't think that that's probably going to be like the norm. I think it's going to take a few more months for me to really figure out what the norm is for me, but I'm glad that it took only a month and a half for my hormones to get in a spot for me to get my period back, because I've heard of girls taking 3, 4, 5 months. So I will take that month and a half. It's been about 2 months now, and a lot of people did tell me that it's around 2 or 3 months that things can kind of get like weird. And this past week, I feel like I have been on just this like emotional roller coaster. I've been like a hormonal mess that basically under normal circumstances I would say was PMS, but it's just been like a week long and no period is coming. So I don't know what's up, but I have just been irritable and like had multiple meltdowns, just crying for no reason type shit. And it actually has taken me a little while to even make this video, because it's been like, there's days where I just like break down crying and don't know why. And today has been one of the better days. And it's literally been, I think, over a week now. I think it's been like 8 days of just like hormonal fucking nightmare. But today's been much more even keel, so let's see. I don't fucking know. All right, I got my second period since going off the pill, and so much smoother than the last one. Like, I almost didn't even notice it was happening. There was just like really subtle signs. Like, it had been, I think it was 32 days, so pretty normal cycle. And then I had like the slightest cramping, but it was nowhere near that first period. So overall pretty good. My skin's definitely been a little more oily than it used to be. And every once in a while I get little breakouts like around my hairline and stuff, but really nothing bad at all. Still feeling really good. Overall, mentally better. Even the past month, I don't think I really had any of the like hormonal emotional meltdowns or anything. So I don't know if I'm getting like pretty like back to normal this quickly. I don't know. I think I'm gonna wait for a third period before I decide to say like, okay, yes, I'm cool. But yeah, we're going good. So something I've been noticing, before my last two periods, I got some acne like around my hair and jawline, and it was for sure hormonal acne because it's been those pimples that are like really deep under the skin and they hurt and you couldn't even pop them if you wanted to. So it's kind of good and bad because you don't really like see them, you know, they're not bright red or bright white or blackheads or anything like that, but they're painful. I was noticing those happening before my periods and then not really too much otherwise. But this last period was about 2 weeks ago, and that kind of acne has persisted. And I've noticed that I've let my diet slip a little bit more. I haven't been eating as many vegetables and like whole real foods as I had been when I first went off the pill. I was like, I'm gonna eat as nutritiously as possible, like get all the micronutrients in the world. And I've slowly started going off of that. And my acne started coming back. So I remember what I had read about vitamin A helping with hormonal acne, and I've been eating more carrots, butternut squash, sweet potatoes, stuff like that, and it's already starting to fade. Well, I was starting to get real optimistic that I was in the clear. You know, I had some acne pop up, but I realized like, okay, my diet hasn't been that great anyways. So I worked on improving my diet, been eating a lot better. It's been about a week. Acne seems to be slowly subsiding a bit. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we're good. You know, seems like I've leveled out. Yesterday, I was really tired all day and I didn't really think too much of it. I thought maybe like, okay, my training's just super intense and I just needed a rest day. But now, today, I had my second hot flash. So it was not as bad as that first one that I had back in like December or January, whenever it was, but I still had the like hot, itchy face. Luckily it didn't last too long and I didn't have the like elevated heart rate or anything. So it was not as bad, but I guess there is still some wacky shit going on. So I'm due for my period any day now. Today is my rest day. I've got my hair and makeup done because I'm getting ready to go to this like really fun networking event. But PMS, yo, my anxiety is like through the roof right now. I'm so sad for no reason. Like I feel like I'm just fighting back tears and I want to just like go crawl in bed and put on a sad movie and not talk to anybody. I'm fucking bloated as shit. My digestion is really slow. So I don't know. I hope this passes because, like I said, I'm about to go to this really fun networking event. So, game face. A week later, no, more than a week later, after I had all those like crazy PMS-y anxiety, sadness symptoms, I totally thought I was getting my period like the next day. It's been more than a week since that happened that I finally got my period. I had some like spotting for like 3 or 4 days and I was kind of like, okay, well, was that it? Like, was that my period this time? Like, what's going on? Finally got like my real period yesterday, so I don't fucking know, but it sucked. I had horrible cramps, wake me up in the middle of the night, slept like shit. But hey, at least I got it. But it was like, I want to say like 45 days from the start of my last cycle. So, you know, most of them are like, you know, 28 to sometimes 40, and mine was like 45 or something around that. I don't know. Anxiety has been so bad. So bad. And it has to be hormonal because nothing else makes sense. Like, I don't know. The other day, I felt like I was drowning. Like, I felt like I was just underwater, couldn't catch my breath, couldn't fall asleep. So I think I'm ovulating for the first time, which is fucking weird. Because when you're on the pill, you don't ever actually like release an egg. You don't go through a real ovulation. It kind of just simulates it. So I haven't ovulated since probably high school when I went on it. And I wouldn't have even like realized what was happening, except that I have been using a app to track my cycle. Since it's been really weird, I want to kind of know, like, I want to watch for the patterns and stuff. So I've been using an app called Clue. It's been tracking my period, and it notified, okay, hold on. So let me back up. So 2 days ago, I got like a pain on just one side of my lower stomach. I thought it was gas. I knew I ate a bunch of fiber that day, so I was like, all right, gas pains, whatever. Didn't think twice. The next day, the app like sends me a little like alert notification saying, watch for signs of ovulation. And I was like, huh, I don't know what signs of ovulation are. So I Googled it, looked it all up, and like one of the obvious ones is pain on one side because there's one ovary releasing an egg. So that made sense. And then that same day, heightened sense of smell is one of the signs of ovulation. Matt, my husband, was in the kitchen washing his hands. I was in the living room, like, I don't know, 50 feet away. I'm not good at distances, but like a totally different room, and I could smell the soap he was washing his hands with. So anyways, weird, but first time I've ever had signs of ovulation, and I think I'm actually like ovulating. So we'll see. Hopefully my cycle starts getting more normal. Well, today has been a fucking roller coaster. Okay, so I did not get a very good sleep last night, and I think that probably triggered a lot of this. But this morning, I was just so emotional and sad, and I cried twice, and I just was like depressed and sad, and I literally like cut my cardio short because I was drained. Like, I was just emotionally exhausted, and I couldn't finish my cardio. That sadness kind of subsided, but now it's just like fucking irritability, and I just want to kill everybody right now. Like, I'm not one to really get road rage, but driving just now, like, everybody was such a fucking moron. And I really don't get road rage. I really don't. I'm a pretty calm driver. I drive a fucking Prius. Like, I'm pretty mellow. I stay in my lane. But I just wanted to kill everybody right now. It has been 44 days since the start of my last cycle. And the apps that I'm using and everything is like, if it's longer than 38 days, you should probably take a pregnancy test. But I spoke with my mom, and she said that when she was menstruating, it was not abnormal for her to have a longer cycle than like the average person. She said sometimes it was like 50 to 60 days. So I'm thinking maybe it's genetic that I just have a longer like full cycle length. But I mean, if not, also everything I've read has talked about how basically the longer you're on the pill for, the longer it's going to take your body to fully adjust. So I mean, I was on the pill for 17 years and it's been 6 months. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it takes like a year for me to have a normal cycle. Or maybe I just have a longer cycle length. I don't know. I have like no signs of PMS, no signs of a period coming, but also no signs of pregnancy. So I'm not pregnant. Still no sign of a period, but I'm craving chocolate like a motherfucker. Like putting chocolate in my oats, having dark chocolate after lunch, and having chocolate milk at night. Like I just want all the chocolate. So come on, period. Just kidding. Still no period. It's day 50. I don't know. It's super weird to me that it's been 50 days and I haven't gotten my period. I'm almost wondering if I just like skipped a period and I'm just gonna like get my next one like 2 months later, because I don't fucking know. But I have now heard that apparently for every year you were on the pill, it takes that many months for your body to like totally normalize. So if I was on the pill for 17 years, that means in theory it would be 17 months. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't actually take that long, but I guess that kind of makes sense that it's, you know, taking longer than if I were to just be on it for like a year or two. Those are probably the people that only take a couple months to get back to normal. The one good thing that I have noticed as of just recently, my hair seems to be growing a lot faster, which has got to be a good sign of normal hormones. So, silver lining.
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
I figured I wasn't pregnant. I mean, Matt had a vasectomy, but after 2 months without a period, I was starting to freak out, thinking that one of his guys maybe like slipped through. So very relieved to have a negative pregnancy test. But yeah, we're on day 58, no period. I have had the last few days this like dull headache. That's not bad, but it's just like just annoying enough and it won't go away. So I'm like, is that my period? And then there was like 2 days where I was holding water like super, super bad, like really bloated. Is that my period? Dude, I don't know. I recently had a realization. First of all, still no period. Whatever. But I recently had a realization. So I've been doing a little mini cut for about 3 months now, and the scale is trending downward in general, but it's been kind of a roller coaster. It's been a lot more ups and downs than I'm used to, and progress has been slower than I'm used to as far as scale weight. So, I mean, I know that the scale doesn't determine everything. You know, there's lots of factors going on, and obviously my hormones are doing a lot of shifting and stuff. So I've been very patient about it all, but it's still a little bit frustrating. But I realized the other day that even though I've been dieting and in a deficit for almost 3 months now, I'm getting stronger and progressing and improving on literally all of my lifts right now. And I was like, maybe I'm actually gaining muscle, which it's possible to gain muscle during a deficit, during a dieting phase. It's just harder to do. So I always have looked at my dieting phases as just losing fat and not as building muscle. But I was like, holy shit, I think I'm actually losing fat and building muscle, because I went off of birth control to try to help me build more muscle. Can't believe I didn't put 2 and 2 together sooner. Either way, I'm pretty fucking sure that going off the pill is indeed helping me build more muscle, even while dieting.
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
So I am lying on the couch here at our cottage in Northport. Been on vacation for a few days, and I got to thinking, I was like, I bet I'm gonna get my period this week, because I was grinding so hard before we left for vacation. You know, I was doing extra work to try to get ahead so that I could relax a little more here. I was doing a mini cut so that I could enjoy myself a little more with food. So I was like, I bet once my mind relaxes, once I get a little more sleep, once I ease up on cardio, get a little more food, I bet my body's gonna kind of like give and relax a little bit and I'll get my period. And I was right. A few days on vacation. I think I'm at day 71 since the start of my last cycle. But I finally got my period. So maybe I just like skipped a period. Maybe this was a longer cycle. I don't really know. Overall, it hasn't been too bad. I'm definitely holding a lot of water. Slightly irritable, but not too bad. Mostly just kind of like want to be alone. But yes, day 71, finally got it. Finally. All right, so that last period came and went, and honestly, it was way more like normal than I was expecting it to be, considering how long it had been since my previous cycle. It was honestly like pretty manageable. So I was really hoping to wrap this video up on like a normal cycle and be like, oh, yay, my body's normalized, but I kind of feel like that's still a long ways away, and I kind of wanted to just come to a conclusion to this video since it's been such a long time coming. Overall, I honestly just feel so much more clear-minded, level-headed. I don't feel like I have a cloud over my head all the time anymore. And I think the coolest part is that my feelings of depression are essentially gone. I do still have some like pretty typical mood swings that would be expected with pretty much any person, and especially a female, but they're so much more, like so much less extreme. Like they're way more manageable, and I don't ever get that feeling of depression like I was getting at least once a month before. I do definitely have more acne being off the pill. When I was on it, I never had acne ever, and I mean, I'm wearing makeup right now, but I don't know if you can kind of see, like, there are like little spots. It's hard to see with my makeup on, but there are little spots that I never used to have acne, and I definitely do have more acne now. But the one thing I have for sure noticed is that when I pay more attention to my diet, it does impact the severity of the acne. When I'm eating really nutrient dense and cooking at home, it's far less than when I start going out to eat and eating like burgers and drinking wine and stuff. I feel like I can't really say too much as far as like weight fluctuations, because I started this intentionally trying to gain weight because I was trying to put on muscle, and then there was a period of time where I was intentionally trying to lose weight because I was doing a cut. So it's hard to say that, but I do think that like calorically there were no surprises. Like when I was trying to gain weight, my calories were about what I would have expected, and when I was trying to lose weight, my calories were about what I would have expected. So that's hard to say, but I will say that maybe I was a little more hungry than usual. So if I hadn't been tracking my food, I guess there was potential for me to have possibly overeaten, which could have caused weight gain. And I mean, that makes sense because birth control is something that affects your hormones, and we have hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, that affect how hungry you feel and when you feel full and whatnot. So if those are getting fucked with, then I think it's totally possible for us to feel more hungry or less hungry, or have a hard time figuring out when we're full or not, which could definitely cause weight fluctuations. I do think I've noticed a few differences as far as body composition. If you remember a little ways back, I was talking about that study where they said that there is evidence of body composition being affected as far as like where your body stores fat and gaining muscle and stuff. And I do feel like when I have gained weight, it's gone more towards my stomach, whereas in the past it used to go more in my legs. So, I mean, it's kind of a bittersweet thing, because it's like, all right, it's my stomach, that's kind of lame, but my legs are leaner. So anyway, as far as where my body is storing fat, I do kind of think that has changed. But the coolest part though is I really, really do think that I have put on more muscle this year than I ever have in the past being on the pill. Obviously, there are multiple variables that could attribute to the muscle gain, like my diet, my training intensity. There's all those types of things, so it's really hard to say for sure, but I kind of just like instinctively feel like my hormones are playing a really big part in it. Like, I just feel different. I feel like my workouts are better. I feel like I'm responding better. So again, like, there's no solid evidence to say like, yes, it's because I went off the pill that I'm getting more muscle, but I am totally getting more muscle. There was a part of me that was kind of wanting to get my hormones tested after all of this to see where they were at. But honestly, I know my hormones are still a little out of whack. So I just don't feel like spending the money for a doctor to tell me that they're not totally normal. So I don't know, like, maybe in the future, if I do a follow-up video to this, if there's enough interest, maybe I'll get a hormone test, but I just don't feel like wasting the money. To any of you that have actually watched this video through and listened to me ramble, I want to sincerely thank you. And please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. Obviously, I'm a pretty open book on this topic, so you can leave me a comment on here, or if you want to do something a little more privately, you can send an email to shannonmavesfitness@gmail.com. I'm also very active on Instagram. My handle on there is shannonmaves. So again, thank you. If there's enough interest, maybe I'll do a follow-up on this video in the future, but again, just don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.